Yeah, people do always want to know. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planets and Predictions. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Scott and I were just talking. Inquiring minds would probably want to watch what we were just talking about backstage, which is all about my love life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to leave that to just Scott and I for now. But yeah, so welcome in everybody. Scott, how you doing this week?
I'm great. Yeah. Doing really well. Thank
That's
you,
it.
Dallisa. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I'm feeling good. It's been a good week so far. I mean, it's only Tuesday, but you know, yeah, it's been a good week. Saw 4 clients yesterday. I saw 1 client before this. I've got a class right after this. I recorded my podcast yesterday too. Yesterday was really busy. Sunday was a day just spent with Gabriella, and and then tomorrow, I'm not even trying to think about tomorrow yet. So I like to get through one day at a time. Yeah. So
Yeah. This is funny. I have to put this comment up here
Oh
about my love life.
yeah, nice. Yes.
I was one of the things that I'll give folks that are tuning in. I was telling Scott, like, so I used to live in Western Washington, and dating for the most part was absolutely horrendous. It just did not jive with me. And for whatever reason, like North Idaho does. So I think maybe astrocartography, or like, where you live and how that energy of where you live and how it correlates to your birth chart, maybe that could be part of the reason. Have you
Oh
found with
yeah.
your work in astrology, like, does astrocartography like really play into how people
Oh yeah.
experience life?
Oh yeah. 100%. Totally. It's like I've had people come to me and they're just like, like somebody's like, somebody told me to come and see you. I'm having a really hard time of where I'm living. And I was like, yeah, well, I can't remember what it was, but it was like Chiron or Pluto was like, they're living right on that line. I know someone who is went and traveled like right on their Mars line and got mugged, and other people, I'm like, I really love this place. And it's like, oh yeah, your Venus line goes right through there. So it really, like, that's one of the things though, that it's so important for your time of birth to be accurate. Because if your time of birth is off, then you're I mean, like, a few minutes in the line moves like, can move like 50 miles or 100 miles. So it's like the planets are moving really fast. And so yeah, there's a good chance that if your time is off, then the astrocartography is going to be off. So that's one of those things where you really want to be certain about your time of birth.
Do you do astrocartography readings?
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay,
totally.
cool.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's what I was just talking about. I think was like, people come to me and they're like, why am I having a hard time living where I'm living? Like, so I'm looking at yours right now, and
Oh.
yeah, yeah. So
I think LA. I think Los Angeles is actually like supposed to be really good for me. But I think my closest line to where I live right now is Pluto, I think.
well, I mean, so when you're in you said Northwest Idaho?
I'm in like North Idaho. I'm
North
east
Idaho, yeah.
east of
Pluto's, yeah, east of Spokane. Pluto's the closest line. But Pluto and Chiron are your closest lines to LA.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. Uranus and Venus are actually closer to Tacoma than they
Oh.
are to, Tacoma's kind of like in between Uranus, Venus, and Chiron. So
Well, what the heck? Maybe I left him behind.
I don't know. I don't know, I mean, but maybe it has to do with Uranus being close by. It just makes it kind of sporadic and unexpected where you're potentially going to meet somebody there, but it comes out of the blue. It's unconventional. You
Oh.
have to be maybe living some sort of an unconventional lifestyle, or you're attempting to find a potential partner in an unconventional manner.
Where I'm
Uh,
at here, or was that
no, in
Tacoma?
Tacoma.
Oh,
But I
okay.
mean, also to a degree to where you are now, because they're not that far from where you are now either. Like the
Ah.
three closest lines to where you are now are Pluto, Venus, and Uranus.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe like the Venus line might be more impactful to where you are right now, because Tacoma, the closest line is Uranus and then Venus. So maybe that was
Oh.
breaking up the Venus vibrations. But in Idaho, it's Venus is closer than Uranus.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah,
I was waiting for
yeah,
that good news.
yeah. But the
Oh
thing
my
is like I always tell people, like, don't let me dictate, the outcome for you. Like, I'm just telling you what I'm reading on this map. I mean, and number one, maybe if you were born a few minutes earlier or later, I'm reading, it's the lines aren't exactly where they are. Number two, I could be interpreting this wrong. And number three, the most important thing is for you to go to that place and have whatever experiences you're going to have. I'll tell people, like, it's worth, like, yeah, this might be a good place for you to live, but I definitely would like travel there first and make sure that it's a good place to live, and not just sell my house and move there because Scott the astrologer said that this could be a good place for you to live. Like, don't do that.
oh
So
my gosh. That's
try it
funny.
out,
And the
see.
lines always stay the same in astrocartography, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They're showing you exactly where the planets were transiting at the moment of birth.
Okay.
That's why if you're off by just a few minutes, the lines will move very quickly, because just think the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and the planets are traveling at, Mercury's traveling around the sun at like 130,000 miles an hour. So things are moving fast.
We're getting compliments on my hair today, Scott.
Oh,
So
awesome. You got so many fans here. They love you.
yeah, they're complimenting me on my new background. Yes, I have my office set up. This is my great great grandfather.
Oh,
This is my
wow.
grandmother, Eloise. This is
Wow.
my great grandmother and her siblings. That's my great grandmother. Yeah, I have a little water fountain going on over here.
Okay.
I got it all like situated.
Amazing.
I feel so much better.
Which one of those are the psychics?
Ah, right
Right
here.
there? Yeah.
Yes,
Looks like a.
Belle is down here. She's the
Uh-huh.
one that it originates from. That's her
Okay.
wedding picture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
cool.
So I put things that I like on my shelves.
I love it.
Yes. Okay. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. We got our news headlines for sure, that we're going to
Mhm.
go over. We have a new moon this week.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, I mean, I've heard stories that the new moon is good. I taught a class on it the other day for an online community. What do you think?
The new moon is good?
That it's good. That it's good.
I
Is
don't
that
ever th-
general enough?
I don't ever think of things as good or bad.
Okay. What's
It's
the vibe?
it's all how you're working with the energy. Well, we had that image that I gave you last week of the new moon. And so I don't know if anyone was here and they remember looking at it, but there's a lot of tension with the new moon because of Jupiter, and Jupiter's conjunct the new moon, and then they're all squaring Saturn and Neptune. So I
Oh.
don't know if it's good. I think it's intense, and it all depends on like where it's aligning in your astrological code. But at the base of this new moon is it's in Cancer, and Cancer is the cardinal water sign that's ruled by the moon. So the moon is in a position of power because it's in the sign that it rules. Uh, Cancer is symbolized by the crab. The crab is that goofy sideways walking creature with a hard outer shell and a soft inner core that lives by the beach and is very determined to get to where it needs to go in order to continue its family lineage. So, when you think of the moon ruling Cancer, like the moon we're able to see in the sky because it's reflecting the light of the sun. Therefore, the light that's emanating off of the moon is literally past light. Therefore, the moon represents your past, your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you, your ancestors, your bloodline who's right behind. Yes, exactly. So it's very Cancer moon of you to have all your ancestors right behind you. It's like they're backing you up. But, so this new moon, every new moon's about setting your intentions. It's the inhale and the full moon's the exhale. So the inhale here is reflecting on our past, reflecting on our ancestry, our bloodline, our home life, our emotional nature. Do you feel emotionally dysregulated in some way? This is a time to really nurture your past. This is to nurture your younger self, to spend time reflecting on the past. I mean, Jupiter's there expanding our view of the past. It's about, do you have the ability to take an honest look at your past so that you can have a righteous outcome in terms of your relationship with the past? The squaring to Saturn and Neptune is saying, do you have the courage to take responsibility for your past? Have you lost faith in yourself because of something that occurred in your past? Now is the time to set your intentions to nurture yourself, to be kind and caring to yourself, to really take care of who you are and the experiences that you're having in this world.
Mm. I feel like taking that big inhale with this new moon. I love how you put things, because I think we all could understand, what you were saying and how we can apply that to our life. And depending on where we have Cancer in our own birth chart, that can indicate the theme or the area of your life where this is coming up. Because you and I were talking before the show started, and I was sharing different things I've been thinking about and reviewing in my own life. And you're like, well, yeah, because it's hitting your first house. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And so you explained it to me, and I was like, oh my God, I'm literally like on time.
Yes.
And so,
always.
Yeah, we're always on time.
Yes, always.
And so this new moon, I think, can be really, really powerful for all of us this week. I think it's tomorrow, isn't it?
It's at 3:32 a.m. Pacific time, 6:32 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, 6:25. June 25th. So like for you, Dallisa, it's transiting through your first house. So you're setting intentions to nurture who you are and how you express yourself to others, and also reflecting upon your past and thinking about how you've shown up in different relationships where maybe you haven't been yourself. Maybe you've hidden, in the shell of the crab to try to appease other people and what they want you to be to them. And so this is about setting your intentions to really nurture who you were in those moments, and forgive yourself for that and say, it's okay. I wasn't ready to come out of my shell then, but this time I'm ready to come out of my shell. I'm ready to be the woman that I want to be. I'm wearing blue, which is the color of Cancer because it's a water sign. So, but yeah, also Mars in Virgo is aligning with this new moon. And so Mars in Virgo brings like another wrinkle, another sort of nuanced vibe to this new moon. You've got several nuances here. This is why it's a very powerful new moon, because you've got Neptune, the planet of dreams and the unconscious, and Saturn, the planet of responsibility, both in Aries, the sign that represents the self, the sign of authenticity and self-confidence. You have Jupiter, the planet of honesty and truth, in Cancer with the new moon. And then you've got Mars, the planet of authenticity and courage, transiting through Virgo. So as you are nurturing yourself, as you are taking responsibility for who you were in the past and reimagining who you want to be in the present, Mars in Virgo is giving you the courage to make the changes that you need to make in your daily life to be the individual that you want to be, whether it be through your health, your diet, your daily routine of working out or regimen, whatever it may be. It could be your job, but this is a time to really shift the energy in reality based on the healing that you're doing of your past.
Mm. Yeah. So, with it in my first house, I have been saying over the last few days, I want like fill in the blank because
Mm-hmm.
I've been catching myself in the pattern of keeping myself small or keeping myself hidden or making a different decision because I know it's what the other person wants. So I've
Mm,
been catching it and I'm like, oh, what do I want in this moment? And so
exactly.
that's my example. So where is it hitting in your chart? Just to give somebody else like another example, our viewers out
So
there.
in my chart, it's happening in the second house. So for me, it has to do with money, my material well-being, my sense of financial security, my self-worth, how I'm valuing myself. So it's about, looking at my past in terms of my relationship with money, and where it stems from. I look at my ancestry, my mother and father, my grandparents. I think about their relationships with money and how that was passed down to me. And is there any parts of their relationship to money which is passed down of me that I want to nurture further? Or is there any that I want to release and say that that's not a part of who I am now?
Mm. Yeah. So for everybody, as you were saying, there's something connected to our past, or our ancestors, or our parents, or maybe even our home life, or something tied to what we've been through previously and revisiting that this week, right?
Exactly. Now, and so this is like to get it like even more nuanced and detailed. And this is like what I do with the people that take my moon cycle classes. But like we look at that house, but then also thinking about where's Saturn and Neptune. So for me, they're one is Neptune is in my 12th house right now, and Saturn is in my 11th house. So I need to take responsibility for the people that I'm surrounding myself with and make sure that those that I'm surrounding myself with are reflecting my values and self-worth, so that my financial abundance will be elevated as opposed to drained in some way. And then Neptune in my 12th house, I need to show myself compassion. I need to uh, reimagine my psyche, like what's going on in my psyche. If I'm not receiving the level of abundance that I desire, then what's going on beneath the surface of my mind? I need to take a closer look at that. And then Mars is transiting through my fifth house right now. And so Mars transiting through my fifth house is connecting me to my heart and my daily routine. Does my daily routine truly reflect my sense of joy, which
Mm.
also should reflect my self-worth and values? If not, then there's more work that I need to do internally about, making peace with the past and taking responsibility for who I'm surrounding myself with and the inner world of my thoughts.
Never a dull moment, huh?
No, no.
Well, inquiring minds want to know. You just mentioned your moon cycle class. Is that
Yes,
like ongoing or does it
it's
start at some point?
ongoing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like so. I mean, well, so like the people that are in the class for the Cancer new moon, like I've already taught two classes and I've got another class right after I'm seeing you here at 4 o'clock. So
Yeah.
and then we'll meet again for all three classes. We'll meet to discuss the full moon. So after the new moon, I'm going to release the new class schedule. So it should be out Wednesday sometime. If you go to my website, you'll see the new class schedule, and that's where you sign up.
Oh,
And so you
gotcha.
sign up for 2 classes. One's for the new moon, one's for the full moon. And it's like, I've got it broken down into different astropods is what I call them. So,
Oh, that's fun. That's
yeah.
fun. Kelly's saying, I really like Scott's voice.
Oh, thanks, Kelly. It's my Taurus rising. It's that
Yes.
earthy tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels earthy. I was going to say maybe a little buttery, but I don't know if that's Taurus, but
Sure, smooth.
sure, that works. Okay, I also want to circle back then. Thanks for all that info on tomorrow's new moon. It gives us something to think about. And it also lets us know like there's powerful things happening in astrology. And there has been for a while, and there will continue to be powerful things. But just know there's a new moon this week, and that's going to be front and center.
Yeah, it's a reset.
Yeah, that inhale. I love that idea of like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take this in and see how I want to create that metamorphosis in my life and where I want to do that. I love it. So if anybody has any ideas in the comments about what you're going to do with the new moon energy this week, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Now they're all just going off about you. So we're going to talk about your hair and your beard just turned multiple colors.
Wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Apparently there's like color changes happening to you right now. Interdimensional Scott is here today.
Wow.
We don't know why. We're just going to go with
exactly.
it. Okay. So I have to circle back to something you've said now a few times.
Yeah.
You have said on this show that you feel, I believe you said mid-July, but I remember it was July.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh yeah, there's a lot that's going to happen in July. And you were feeling like this intensity.
Mm-hmm.
And so before we started the show, it's like, hey, can you talk about that? Mm-hmm. So here's
like, oh no, what did
insert.
I say?
I don't know. Because, because I was going to say, I've been feeling off and on over the last several days, like this really heavy weight of anxiety. Mm-hmm. And so I've been breathing through that and letting it go and doing some visualizations for it. I'd be curious if anyone in the comments wants to let me know, have you been feeling a certain way, or have you been feeling that anxiousness? I think it has to do with some of the world events that are happening. We're going to get to the headlines here in just a minute. And I think that'll kind of parlay into it as well, kind of that back and forth, off and on energy. Mm. But here we are, June 24th. Mm-hmm. We know that Uranus is going to go into Gemini July 7th, which is going to set off some more energetic fireworks. But what is July feeling like for you as we start to get closer when you look at the astrology?
So the intensity of July, July is like it's a retrograde month, and not just Mercury retrograde, but Neptune begins retrograde on July 4th. The same day that Venus transits into Gemini. Uranus transits into Gemini on July 7th. Saturn turns retrograde on July 12th. And Mercury begins its retrograde transit on July 17th. So, those 3 retrogrades, Neptune, Saturn, and Mercury, I feel like that's going to kind of pull everybody back, and everybody's going to want to move forward, but we're going to be pulled backwards. And it's intense also just because there's that configuration that we've talked about many times, and we'll continue to talk about it as we go into July, because you've been kind enough to invite me to stick around in July. But we're going to have Neptune, Saturn, Pluto, Uranus, all connecting to each other. So those 4 outer planets, now they're all in Earth, or they're all in air and fire. Pluto and Uranus are in air. Pluto's in Aquarius, which is fixed air. Uranus is in Gemini, which is mutable air. And Saturn and Neptune are in Aries, which is cardinal fire. So air fuels fire, fire raises the air. There's a flow between these 2 elements, but there's also, some combustibility. And I just feel like with Saturn and Neptune basically stopping and not moving, yeah, I mean, I said last week, and I got some comments that were like, "Ooh, Scott," but I was like, I feel like July is when the zit pops, like the pressure's building. The pressure's building, and it pops in July. Because I think when Mercury turns retrograde, people are going to go, a little batty. And yeah, I mean, I wish we could all be as enlightened as Lee, who says retrogrades allow for time within. I mean, Lee knows what a retrograde is. Sadly, most people don't, and you get those comments, "Oh, is Mercury in Gatorade again?" And it's just like, okay, wow, think of a new joke. It's like, wow, that's so funny. But
I think it's
so
kind of funny.
I don't know. I get annoyed with that kind of stuff, but let people have their jokes, so it's fine. But I think it's just going to continue to be kind of bumpy in July and August. I don't think August is gonna bring much relief because Mercury retrograde ends on August 11th. And when Mercury retrograde ends, it's always so funny. I see these memes that are like, "Yeah, Mercury retrograde's over, yeah," and I'm just like,
That's me.
Mercury is not moving for like a week, and that, like, half of the week is before Mercury retrograde ends and the other half is after it ends. So just because the retrograde ends doesn't mean that it's over, really, because Mercury is not back in its normal flow. So to answer Cindy's question, what is bad about retrograde? Well, nothing is bad. Nothing is good or bad. It's all about how you're working with the energy. But what makes retrograde uncomfortable for many is the fact that they don't know that it's retrograde, and we are sort of hardwired in our society to always be moving, pushing ahead. And Mercury retrograde is, like Lee was saying, is allows time for us to go within. So if you're not going within, if you're not slowing down, if you're not taking your time, if you're not using this time to reflect and recharge and review and sort of recalibrate yourself, because it's asking us to slow down so that we can be upgraded. And so if you keep pushing through the retrograde, that's when you end up like, Britney Spears with a shaved head, or getting married over a weekend in Vegas, which she did both times were during Mercury retrograde. You're not thinking clearly, so you really, like, it's interesting because Venus is going to be in Gemini for the first part of Mercury retrograde. So it's really ripe to, like, get out of a relationship or get into another relationship. And then by the time, or maybe meet somebody new, like Dalisa's going to meet someone in July and be like, "Oh my God, this is my person." But, if you're making forever promises, by the time we get to like the end of August or September, you're going to be saying, "Why am I with this person? It doesn't make any sense." Like, you've got to slow down during the retrograde. You're not thinking clearly. So go out, have fun, date around, meet different people, but keep it light, and don't get serious about anyone until the end of August or into September, once Mercury is moved out of its retrograde shadow. At that point, if it still feels solid, then okay, it is. But if you're making promises, or if you're breaking up with somebody in July or August, you may be regretting it by September.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. If I come on a weekly show and tell you I got married in Vegas, you guys better come help me. Oh my gosh. Too funny. Yeah. I think next week and the week after, I think we're going to have a really good pulse check on Uranus going into Gemini, and what that's going to bring, because I think it's going to have a whole slew of things. So
Yeah.
we'll save that one for next week. but I think we're already feeling it. I saw somebody earlier in the comments asking if the anxiety could be because of what's been happening with Iran and Israel and all that. Yeah, I tend to feel the energy of what's happening in the collective. And so that's why I check in and ask, is this mine, and release it and clear it. So I think we start going through these headlines and we can talk about how this energy has been showing up in mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but it's not slowing down. It's not getting quieter. And like you said, even with a lot of the retrogrades in July, most people aren't watching this show, even though I wish they were, but they aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're dealing with all of the other people out in the world that don't know that Mercury is in the microwave.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like we're in the canoe and we actually can see where we're going, and we have a paddle that's helping us, steer the canoe so that we are like, oh, look, it's getting rough up there. We need to start paddling this way or that way to avoid the rocks. Meanwhile, most of the people on planet Earth are riding around in the canoe with their hands tied behind their back and a blindfold on. And they're like, whoa, what is happening? This is awful. And it's like, well, if you just took off the blindfold, you would see what's going on. So, the tension that people are feeling right now, yes, it has to do with what's going on in the world with, bombing Iran and Israel and all this sort of stuff. But that's also what's happening in the planets. There's tension between the planet of expansion, Jupiter, and the planets of restriction and illusion, which is Saturn and Neptune. So that tension is creating this energy, which has thrown everybody into a sense of stress and chaos.
Okay. Well, on that note,
Linda says her Uranus is in Gemini. I want to ask how old, Linda was born in the 1940s. Wow. You were born in the 1940s. I love it. Linda.
I think my Uranus, which also adds to my fun dating life, my Uranus is next to my Venus, which
yeah.
I think Elizabeth Taylor had, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I will tell you she did. I will tell you everyone who was born with, where are my notes here?
Yep, Linda says 1949.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Let's see. Where is my...
So this is your Uranus return you're getting into, Linda?
Yeah. Well, she's got a ways for that to happen, but it's going to happen in the next 7 years. So Venus conjunct Uranus. These are your people. Let's see. Let me...
Britney Spears and Elizabeth Taylor.
Elizabeth Taylor is there. Exactly. She's one of them. Who else is famous here that people would know? Jackie Robinson, the famous baseball player. James Caan from The Godfather. Johnny Cash, John Legend.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
Let's see.
There's some hope in there then, because I heard Elizabeth Taylor and I was like, all right.
Ronda Rousey, Rose McGowan.
God.
Shizza, I think I'm saying her name right. SZA. Shizza. Yeah, SZA. Okay. Tim Burton. And those are the Stephen Sondheim, if anyone's like a musical theater fan. Peggy Fleming.
I don't know enough about these people's love lives other than Johnny Cash and Elizabeth Taylor.
Well, Johnny Cash had a long time, and then John Legend has a wife, and they have, I think, a family. So, yeah. Don't be a victim of your chart, Dallisa.
I'm not. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, funny enough, I actually have Chrissy Teigen's cookbook on display in my kitchen right now. So maybe I'm channeling that.
Yeah, exactly.
Subconsciously.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, we're going to talk about these headlines. So first up, Scott actually found these and brought these to my attention. There's two headlines. One about this clearing the bench, and then we have Otani playing Peacemaker. So
Yeah.
you brought these video clips to my attention where in baseball this week, it was like people getting so mad and
Yeah.
starting fights on the field.
Yep.
And then you've got Otani who like came out and was like shaking the hand of the first baseman and was like the opposite of all the other team members.
Yeah.
So why were all these baseball players going absolutely crazy this week? What
Well,
do you
I mean,
think?
I think they're reflecting what's going on in the world, and the bombings that are happening, and the protests and all that sort of stuff. They're just, they're on planet Earth too. They're having the same experiences that everyone else is. So, I mean, the Padres and Dodgers have a very intense rivalry, and there was a lot of guys getting hit intentionally. The Dodgers hit a star on the Padres, Fernando Tatis, and they hit him twice. And after he was hit a second time, like he was hit in one game, and then the next day he was hit again, that's when the benches cleared. And because he crumpled to the ground, he didn't rush the pitch or anything, he just like crumpled to the ground, and like the benches emptied, and it was the two managers went chest to chest. Like the Dodgers manager really like pushed his chest or even his arm into the Padres manager's chest, and then they got separated, and both the managers got thrown out. And then like 2 innings later, Otani's up again, and he got hit square in the back with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. It was the second time he had been hit in 2 days. And his reaction, like as he's like, and he winced, and then he like started to go to first base, and he turned back and was like waving off the Dodgers, dugout, like stay there, like don't come out here, and he started walking to first base. And as he's like gaining his composure, he walks over to the Padres dugout, and he's like smiling and laughing and joking with them. And, they're just chatting it up. And then he goes over to first base and he shakes the first baseman's hand, and the announcers were like, this guy's just different. Like
He's nice.
I've never seen anybody react to getting hit with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball like that. But, it really is kind of an example for how we can all be behaving during these tense times. I mean, on one hand, you can look at him and say, well, he's Shohei Otani. Like, what does he have to worry about? He's like the one of the richest athletes in the world. But just the way that he carries himself with such kindness, he's a Cancer sun. Not sure where his moon is. He's either a Taurus moon or a Gemini moon. My guess is Gemini. It's a little lighter, it's light and airy, and he's like the only player in baseball since Babe Ruth to actually hit and pitch and do it successfully, and that's that Gemini duality. But he really just set an example of how you can show strength through grace. He wasn't being passive. He was being extremely confident, like to go over to the opposing team's dugout and start talking to them. Like he's just like, really, it was incredible. I was like, wow, like this guy, he's done so many things on the field in between the lines that have blown my mind. But this, I felt like superseded all of that.
Yeah. The video clip was really interesting to watch. Could you see the
Yeah.
first one that you sent over to me that was everybody going crazy? And then the second one was Otani just being like super chill.
Yeah.
And your point about money, right? Like, yeah, sure. He has a ton of money. He's a great player. But I've also seen people, whether it's personally or in the news, that they're really rich and they're jerks. So, I don't think money can necessarily point you one direction or another. I mean, it's more like who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think money just amplifies who you are already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it also has to do with like the Japanese culture. Like, they live by like the way of the warrior, where it's like, it's about, showing restraint and, not showing the emotions. I looked up like how many Japanese players in the history of Major League Baseball have been thrown out of a game, and there's been 3. in the history of Major League Baseball that have been Japanese-born players that have been thrown out of a Major League American baseball game. And there's been, thousands that have been thrown out of games, but only 3 of them were Japanese. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's
Yeah. So,
fascinating.
I think they see themselves as like, I'm representing my country.
Mm,
Like they would frown upon me if I threw a fit. It'd be embarrassing. Like their culture just doesn't really accept that kind of behavior, I think.
yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting tidbit.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got next. And so these I'm going to do like rapid fire because they're kind of a series. So this one is our buddy Trump talking about congratulations.
Yeah.
Everything has been agreed to. Israel and Iran, there's a ceasefire. So Scott and I were messaging back and forth last night, and I was like, "Oh, this is not true. This is not true. Don't believe it. Don't believe it." This is one about a woman trying to call her mom in Iran, and a robotic voice answered the phone, which is kind of strange, obviously. Then you have breaking. Trump is furious with Israel for dropping a load of bombs the moment the ceasefire was agreed to. Um, and then we have heightened threats to the United States. This was put out on the 22nd. And why I chose to include this is because it's very weird. It talks a lot about increase of cyber attacks, which we have talked about, and more violence and this escalated threat to, Americans. And they said that this is in place until this like specific date in September. So it's basically the whole summer, and they magically know what date this is going to expire on, which was very weird. Let's see if there's we have Zelensky, who there was an assassination plot. You can read all about it online, but he narrowly escaped being assassinated, according to different news outlets. We'll go to the syringe thing later. Okay, so these are all of our political headlines.
Yeah.
I feel like the Iran-Israel thing, war, catastrophe, however you want to refer to it as, I still feel like war is very present in the energy. I know you and I have talked about the astrology and how it is correlated to war and increase in anger and rage and fighting and violence and all those things. We just got done talking about all the things happening in July. So do you feel similar to how I feel, where it's like, don't believe what you're seeing online about anything having to do with this war going on, or any war that becomes news headlines?
Totally. Absolutely. I mean, when I saw that Trump sent out that tweet that said like, "Oh, everything's great now," I'm just like, really? Yeah, that's weird. Like I'm just like, so Iran's just cool that they just dumped a
Yeah.
bunch of bombs on their nuclear site. Like, yeah, it's all good now, guys. Let's make peace. Like, huh? And I mean, if so, like to see the next thing that happens is Trump's dropping an F bomb to reporters on the White House lawn about Israel dropping literal bombs on Iran during the ceasefire. And I'm like, who's surprised by this? Like, really? Like, of course. Like, this is not going to go quietly into the night. That's just not how this works. And the thing is, I went back and I was looking up dates for the last few times that Neptune and Saturn were conjunct to see if there's any similarity. Because like this transit of Neptune and Saturn, it's like Neptune is the illusion and Saturn is the authority. So it's like it can mean like the disillusionment of authority, where we no longer believe the authority, or the authority no longer has power, or it can be confusion about what the authority is attempting to do. But like when you just go back, so the last time this happened was 1989. In 1989 was when the Berlin Wall collapsed or fell. It didn't collapse, but they tore it down. I remember, I was like 14, 13 years old at that time. And that was like one of the craziest things that I'd ever seen at that time in my life, because it was never imaginable that that wall would be anywhere but where it was. Like that it wasn't going to be torn down. Like, what? Is this real? Why did that happen? But that's literally like Neptune, like dissolving the solid wall, so it just tore down this barrier. It was like the collapse of the Soviet Union. It was the Tiananmen Square protest. Global, neoliberalism grew. It was the collapse of old political orders, rise of global capitalism, and propaganda wars. The time before that was 1952, when Neptune and Saturn were conjunct in Libra. And so that was when the Cold War escalated. That was the first H bomb was dropped. McCarthyism rose. The Korean War was continuing. So there was a lot of fear-driven ideology. There was institutional suppression of dissent. And then the time before that, when Saturn and Neptune were conjunct in Leo, was 1917. World War II was in full force. The Russian and Ottoman empires collapsed. World War I was in full force. So, but the Russian and Ottoman empires collapsed. The U.S. entered World War I. But it was the fall of monarchies, the rise of ideology, communism, Zionism, war propaganda, glamorization. 1882, they were both conjunct in Taurus. That was British occupation of Egypt and the Suez Canal. Chinese Exclusion Act in the United States. Like, no Chinese can be here. No citizens of Chinese. I mean, does that sound familiar? Birth of industrial capitalism, economic and land-based imperialism, wealth mystified as destiny or divine right. And then 1846, when they were conjunct in Aquarius, that was the Mexican-American War. That was the beginning of the Mexican-American War. The Irish potato famine and mass immigration. Corn laws were repealed. Ideological expansion masked by moral progress. Institution co-opting utopian ideals. So those are just some quick notes that I was taking on what was going on historically. But it's about, in Aries, this is about new beginnings and really understanding like your identity. Who am I? What is the action that I want to take? And then you put that against like the Pluto and Aquarius. It's like a collective awakening, a systematic transformation. So this, we're in the midst of a period of a seismic shift, institutional dominance to empower individuals and communities, rising through truth, integrity, and healing. So when I hear about Iran, Israel bombing Iran and Iran bombing Israel, and then the U.S. bombing Iran, and then Trump comes out and says, everything's cool now, it's all good. No, it's not.
No.
Like, I'm not fooled by that for a second, because this is only going to continue to happen through the summer as Neptune and Saturn are conjunct. I mean, so this is how it's going to be for the next 2 months. Like, talk to me in the fall,
Well, yeah, but even, I know we're going to cover it in a future episode, but with Uranus going into Gemini, like that's a whole other like layer to all this war stuff. So
exactly. Futuristic war. Like weapons that no one's ever seen before.
Cyber AI stuff, I think, is going to be a big part of it. Yeah. And I know I already cruised through these, but the robotic voice when calling her mom on the phone in Iran, that didn't surprise me either. It's kind of like we've never heard of something like that happening with, countries bombing each other, and you try to call a relative and it sounds like a robot. Like that just sounds like par for the course of where we're at right now in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So Zelensky, not surprised there. I think that unfortunately, because I wouldn't want this on anyone, I think that a lot of the world leaders are could potentially have a headline like this or worse.
Well, and I read the article too. He's like, I've lost track of how many times
mm,
there's been a threat on, or, somebody's tried to kill me. Like
yeah,
it's happened a lot of times. And it's
yeah,
just going to continue to happen
yep,
because there's just so much unrest and people are upset and yeah, they want bloodshed, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
Hmm.
this is a horrible article. I saw
Makes me
this picked up.
sick.
Yeah, I'd heard about it in the media a few different times over the last week. So I just grabbed this headline. But um, the summary is that there were 145 people that had been stabbed with syringes in a wave of attacks at a huge music festival. Um, Terrible. And the article that I read about it, they didn't say what they thought it was in the syringe, but that multiple people were involved in this. So,
Yep.
what about the astrology would point to some kind of weird attack like this?
Wow. I think it's all these outer planets that we've been talking about, I mean, something unexpected occurring, like the fact that Uranus is at that final degree. It's at 29 degrees in Taurus. It's that earth, it's that sense of security it's like you're going to a concert, like you're going to have fun, like you feel safe there, but Uranus at that final degree of Taurus is reminding us that we're not safe anywhere. You're not even safe in your own home. If you're living in Israel or Iran, you're not safe in your own home. You're not safe walking down the street. Like there's just a lot of uncertainty right now with Uranus at that final degree of Taurus. And so I would say that it's probably that is a big factor. And Neptune conjunct Saturn, where it's like losing faith in authority, losing faith in your own self-confidence. I mean, I would be really wary to go to a public event like this because who knows who's there or what they're doing or how they're doing it. And yeah,
Mm.
I mean, nothing is going to surprise me, I don't think, until it does. But yeah.
Yeah, it's people are getting bolder and more agitated. And so things we've never seen before are just going to naturally rise to the surface. Yeah.
That's that Uranus, like inventing a new way to
Uh,
terrorize people,
ah.
to make them
Oh.
feel less safe.
Oh, so apparently there was a shooting at the fireworks in Detroit last night. I hadn't seen
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see that either. But I mean, I think we're going to see more and more of this,
Hmm.
and I feel like, maybe it's a major sporting event or, something like that where something's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. Trust your intuition, everybody.
Hmm.
Stay out of that fear vibration because I think it makes
Yes,
your intuition harder to tap into when you're in fear. So try to stay out of
absolutely.
fear. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
We had one more article that I popped on here. These are just some small images on your screen, but there is a new observatory that has images that they have been receiving as like their first images.
Hmm.
And the media is saying that it's a staggering view of 10 million galaxies in and around the Virgo cluster. So these are
Hmm.
on your screen, the original first images that are coming into this Vera Rubin Observatory. But I just thought it was interesting because I think we're going to be seeing so many more advancements with science and technology and what we can see in outer space and what we can tap into and get information from. So I just brought that in because of just what I've been feeling psychically about the future of where we live on Earth and how that plays into the larger solar system.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Interesting that this is happening while Mars is transiting through Virgo. It's like,
Oh,
taking action to show us something new that's going on in this sign. So, Yeah.
That's really, oh yeah, I hadn't thought
Yeah.
about that. Go
Mm.
Mars and Virgo, show us more. Yay. I know, that's really, really cool. I know you have to get going here in a minute.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, theweeklytransit.com is your website. You have your weekly show, The Weekly Transit, on YouTube. You've got your upcoming moon classes that you were mentioning earlier in today's show. Is there anything else you want to tell everybody out there?
Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate the comments and engagement. And yes, if you're curious to learn how any of these transits are affecting you, if you need that calming voice to be here for you, you can always reach out to me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com.
Yeah, and you do that. I mean, backstage, you'll like rattle off my chart and like what's happening, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. So, and that's just like us chatting as friends for a few minutes before the
Yes.
show starts. But
Hmm.
oh
So
yeah,
grateful for you as well, Dallisa. Thank
same.
you for having me here. It's always so much fun to connect with you and
Yeah,
your
same,
audience.
same.
Yeah,
Yeah. So next week we'll probably lean a little bit closer into that Uranus and Gemini and see what's
it's
happening
coming
there.
up.
And of course, whatever baddie headlines happen over the next week.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
I'm sure you and I will be texting back and forth
Oh
about it.
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Every time
Yay.
there's a crazy story happening in the world now, the first person I text is Dallisa.
Yeah, that sounds true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's fun doing these shows though, not because the world's falling apart, but because astrology is such a powerful tool and
Yeah.
really helps us navigate what is going on. And I think for me, asking about astrology and talking about what's happening with the planets, it makes me feel less crazy.
Yes.
Because if I didn't know that all these things were happening in the astrology and I was just random person out there in the world walking around la 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 la, not understanding what's happening with the greater solar system, um, I would think that everything was imploding and it was going to be horrifying. And but with astrology, at least you're like, oh, I know why it's happening. I can project how long it's probably going to last for and what the energy themes are going to be. Astrology to me is like the light at the end of the tunnel, whatever the
Mm.
tunnel is.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And it helps you figure out how to navigate through the tunnel, through the darkness, through the challenges so that you can thrive and really, grow through these changes. Like the planets they want to support you. The universe wants to support you. And that's why we were given these tools to understand how it works so that we can work with the energy as opposed to the energy working us over.
Amen. Amen. Yes, the planets are like our cheat code.
Yes.
Remember, I know you have to go, but
Exactly.
remember on Mario, it'd be like you had to do like left, right, up, down, A, B, start, whatever it
Yeah.
was. That
Yeah.
was like the cheat code for Mario Brothers.
That's
Um,
astrology for life.
yes,
Yes.
you're giving us the cheat codes. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome, Delisa. I'll see
All
you
right, I'll
next
see ya.
week.
Yeah, see you
Okay.
next week. All right.
Bye.
Okay, bye. See ya. Scott's amazing. Yeah, he's so great to talk to and he always has so much information. So yay. Thanks for coming and joining us again for another week. I'm going to pull our tarot report winner here in just a second. But I appreciate just for a moment, I appreciate every single one of you that's either tuning in live or watching the replay. I know some of you send this video off to your friends, your family, your coworkers. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it. It really does mean a lot. And I really feel, I'm going to speak for myself, but I think Scott would probably be the same, is that we do these shows to really try to help, because we know that the world is going crazy and we know that the headlines are really dire. But when we get together each week and we talk through it and we remember how it ties back to the astrology, it helps us with those cheat codes. And I know some of you don't understand astrology at all, and you have no idea what we're talking about when we mention a planet being in a specific sign or a conjunction or an opposition or whatever the aspect is. And that's okay. Because even if you don't understand the terminology of the astrology, you will understand what we're talking about in terms of the vibration or the feeling or how to work with it. And as somebody like myself that's been learning astrology for, I don't know how many years at this point, I have learned that by listening to it, it's like you get it through osmosis, right? It's like if you go to a foreign country, if you're there long enough, you just start learning the language because you're there and you're listening to it and you hear people communicate. So astrology is a lot of the same thing. It just kind of starts to soak in. And maybe that's because our soul knows that astrology is a sacred language. And so our soul soaks it in like a sponge. So thank you for coming each week. Like I said, either the live or the replay, and sharing it, sending the link to a few people. It really does help a lot. And for everybody that's given the episode a thumbs up, or if you've hit that subscribe button just so you get notified when I have a new video coming out, I really do appreciate it. It means a lot. And all the comments help to rank the video higher on YouTube, which helps Scott and I reach more people. And so those are free little things that you can do. And I really, really do appreciate it. So just wanted to say thank you. And I acknowledge that you have a choice with where you spend your energy, your time. And I love that you spend a little bit of time with us each week. So thank you. Okay, let's see. I've mentioned this before. This class is this week. This is the Journey to Past Lives of Reincarnation. Just a reminder that all of the classes that are on demand, which means they're already recorded, you can take those anytime. So if you want to learn about remote viewing, psychic development, my tarot masterclass, dream interpretation. I've got so many different classes that are available on my website right now. So you can go on there, spiritandspark.com, and click on classes. And all the classes are on there, so you can take whatever you feel like taking if it aligns with your own spiritual journey and development. Just a special thank you, as always, to my Sacred Signals members. I have your Star Cast class designed and ready to go for tomorrow. So we're going to be talking about a couple of these things that are happening with the current astrology chart, how you can find it in your own chart. So thank you to everybody that's a member of my Inner Circle community called Sacred Signals. You can do monthly or annual. That is also at spiritandspark.com, and click on Sacred Signals. So thank you to everybody who's a Sacred Signal member. I really do appreciate it. I think those are all my notes. Y'all know that my psychic quiz is on spiritandspark.com. So if you want to know what your primary psychic gift is, go to spiritandspark.com, take it. It only takes a couple minutes, and it lets you know what your own psychic gift is. I think those are all my announcements. Okay, beautiful. All right, so let's do our drum roll. Let me put my email address here in the chat box here. I will pull a winner out of my jar here in just a moment. Whatever name appears on the jar needs to match exactly as your name appears in the chat. And if you are the winner, you will receive a 12-month personalized tarot report that I think is fabulous. And you have to email me by 11:59 p.m. Pacific time tonight, June 24th, 2025. If you are the winner, and then I will put that report together for you this week. So lots of fun things. I think that was all. Oh, yeah. And I'm on a bunch of podcasts that are going to be coming out. So I'll be sharing those interview links with you. Did a great one today. Julie Reisler, the Youest You podcast. Did a great episode with her today. That's going to be coming out in a couple weeks. So I'll be sharing that episode with you, and I'll keep you posted of all the things going on. Okay. So let me drop my email address in the Zoom chat. We're not even on Zoom. I'm on Zoom so much that I feel like everything in a chat box is on Zoom. Okay. So I just dropped my email address in the chat here on YouTube. And let me do our drum roll. Ready? Today's winner is Danny Estes. Danny Estes, you are today's show winner. So Danny, you have until 11:59 p.m. Pacific time tonight to email me and claim your prize. Ellen, maybe one of these days. I see you here. I see you. Wishful thinking. I know you wanted to win. Maybe next time. Oh, thank you again to everybody for tuning in. Thank you again to Scott. You can check out his work at theweeklytransit.com and all of my work and all of my classes at spiritandspark.com. I'll see all my Sacred Signal members tomorrow for the Starcast, teaching you a little bit more about your own astrology chart. So, yay! All right, go enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you again soon.